Son shit, y'all ready?
I hope y'all are. This episode right here is about slavery in Florida. But we're gonna have to do this a little different. Cause see, what happened was this past Saturday, doing the show, and do two segments. It's one segment, it's just we here, blah 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 blah. A lot of trash talking, a lot of just gibberish, just throwing darts out there at the world. And then the second one is the history thing. Now, as you have heard, there's still some there's a lot of goofing off and talking about stuff. Or there's times I done pulled out the soapbox and said some stuff and then got into the history, or I said the history and then started like rambling and just going into a whole nother direction. But it's always the way it goes. So during the show, what happened was I didn't have the levels adjusted straight. That's how we're gonna say it. We didn't have the levels adjusted right. So when it came time for the speaking, there was a lot of snap, crackle, pop going on, a lot of Rice Krispiness going on. It was a lot of you know what I'm saying? And I was not aware of this until almost the end of the show, the parting words part of the show. And then I happened to look at my phone to see there's like a message. One of the messages was like, hey, there's a lot of distortion going on your mic. I did not know this until then. And at that point, it was too late to try to fix it. It was what it was. Now, when I say pop it didn't sound too bad. You could still hear me. It's just the annoyance of the snap, crackling, popping, and the plooping and all that. Check it out. Here's a piece right here. Check this piece out right here. Let's get back into what we do, man. We got about like little under 15 minutes, man. I'm out here zoning. I play some Asian stuff. I was out here wilding out. Like, them was some weird jazz sounds. Well, jazz was just a wild joint. Jazz was wide open back in the 60s and 70s. It hit a whole new level. It was just like, if you just grabbed two sticks and made a noise, and they were like, that's jazz. Hey, you think I'm lying? Come clean. J. Rue the Damager. Have you ever heard the original song that sample goes to? Jazz. See what I'm saying? Like, you can hear me clearly, but there's the stuff going around. So instead of doing this part of the show and then playing that, and you'd have to go through all that and be like, yo, what am I listening to? I'm like, yo, why don't we do this a good old-fashioned way? Because a lot of podcasts I check out don't have a thing where they go off. I modeled this podcast after TV shows, like TV show joints, you know what I'm saying? The old school TV shows, stuff, when people go, yeah, and then we ended up talking to somebody, and then they'll show you that interview they had with somebody, or they'll tell you about that segment, or when wrestling, back in the day when wrestling wasn't live, and they'd talk to the people and go, and this happened in this place, and then they'll show you all those matches somewhere else. And you watched matches that weren't live in the studio somewhere else. You watched somebody talk about the episode that they're about to show you, and then they'll get into it. They're like, yeah, and then we had fun time over here, and blah, 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 blah. They'll do it. And you're like, yo, okay. So I patterned it after that. This time, we're going to just have to go old school and just talk. That's right. Old school talkity, talk it out, talk it up. And it's about Florida's slavery times. Times of Florida with the slavery history in Florida. The whole Floridia. You know what I'm saying? Flo Rida. Whatever happened to Flo Rida? I'm not going to even go down that road. I was not a fan of dude like that anyway, so you know what I mean? This is a crazy thing, because it all started with a lot of the stuff that was coming out from DeSantis himself, saying slavery was beneficial to the black people. Don't know how, don't get it. But I mean, my man makes it seem like, hey, we were brought here unwillingly, and then it was like, hey, check this out though. if y'all learn how to do this and do this, y'all be better people. You know what I mean? Now, also, just craziness, as time goes on, you realize they're really out here like trying to teach this as a curriculum in school. Teachers are out here like, what am I going to do? Which we're going to have a bonus episode about the strike over there, the Hollywood strike. And teachers are a big piece of that conversation too. But what are these teachers to do? Do they quit their jobs? Do they quit something that they love to do? Or do they go out and teach the wrong thing? Now, here's the thing about, I told y'all how I was taught. We were taught little bits and pieces, and as you got older, it opened up more and more, and it became more obvious how evil slavery was. This is just a whole different thing. And I would hope that teachers would be smart enough to be real enough to go, a lot of this is fake. Most of this is fake. This is fake. This is not real history. This is what we have to teach you. We will teach you this by all means. We will also send you links. We will give you books. We will provide you recommendations and referrals to look up the actual history as pertaining to slavery. Because the thing is, once you start manipulating that history, what is to change? What is to not do it with all history? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is to do, have you not do? And the thing, and the crazy part is, we kind of did. The Native American colony integration beauty that we were told, it never told us about the attempts to have Native Americans as slaves. It never told us about the taking Native Americans back to Europe. They didn't tell us about that. Look, they didn't even tell us about John Smith. John Smith is an American hero. Y'all hear me? John Smith is an American hero. John Smith was a mercenary. John Smith was a mercenary. My man was out here killing people. He killed people for payment. He was a mercenary. The man didn't even make it to 50, I don't think. He didn't even make it to the age of 50. Felon, I don't know what you want to call it. Felon infatuation, lust, property trade, whatever the case was with Pocahontas, that is a love affair. America has turned that into a love affair. The cartoon makes it seem like she's at least 18. She wasn't close to 18. This was a grown man, a grown killer, and a young child. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, so we've already experienced the retelling of history. America never, like, the thought of Columbus being Columbus, that's relatively new to America. We didn't care about that until we started bringing immigrants to this country. And then it was like, oh, by the way, we need to paint a perfect picture of these people who don't feel that comfortable. Because we refuse to let these black people do it. We'll bring your poor, bring your whatever. Yeah, and by the way, you know who helped? You know who did this country for you Italians? Just because, you know, Columbus. And that's why part is they say Columbus discovered America. He was on some islands. He never even made it here. The retelling of history. And now we're about to redo it. Now we're about to get into it and reshape slavery. Which, by the way, I'm saying this, and I will continue to say that if you reshape slavery, you have to explain everything. You would have to explain all the revolts. You'd have to explain the lynchings, the beatings, the bloodshed. You'd have to explain what was Harriet Tubman doing. You'd have to explain you know what I'm saying, the people who were against slavery, and if it was such a beneficial thing, then why were there people against it? You'd have to explain the reason for the Civil War. You know what I'm saying? You'd have to explain so much. The coming out of the Civil War, the Devil's Punch Bowl, which there's an episode of that out here somewhere. On this, we have this, one of the earlier episodes, the Devil's Punch Bowl, one of the most evilest things ever. You have to talk about that, and we don't talk about that. We let that go. We slide up over that. We slide over the fact that the government actually went out of its way to mess up a lot of stuff. and keep a lot of people down. Oklahoma, which was going to be by accident is the word not the word I want to use, but the word that's available. By accident was becoming the black state. You know what I'm saying? It was becoming a black state, and that had to be stopped. People don't know about Oklahoma's history. Oklahoma's history is crazy when it comes to black people. That was happening. You have to then go over here, and then you gotta explain the Red Summer and what was going on with all these black places that build themselves up, kept their money circulating within its own community, and then traded and had exports and imports with other black communities, bypassed the whole white community and just did it their way. And how that got under people's skins, because there was nothing worse than seeing black people with money. Black people being cheated out of land. You know what I'm saying? How we've whitewashed black history. Cowboys, most of the cowboys that you come across in history, the real cowboys were black people. The real cowboys were black people because they had to go out and make it happen. We talk about I don't know if I have an episode for that. The Lone Ranger. The story of that was taken from a black man. That's a black man's life that then gets whitewashed into the Lone Ranger. That's realness. That is the way that goes. How do you explain that? How do you explain the systemic racism? It all goes back to slavery, which, by the way, didn't have to be. The beginning of slavery was servitude. You paid your debt, you got a little more money, you got a little patch of land. If you could get more money and buy more land, well, good for you. You had yours. There you go. Boom. That's how that goes. Black people did that. Poor white people did that. That was how the game went. Then the rules changed. And when the rules changed, so many things changed. No longer could black people own land. Now black people are slaves forever. Their children will be bound to slavery forever. Before that, your kids weren't slaves. Because it wasn't slavery. You were basically a servant until dues were paid. So your kids could move about freely. Your kids were part of the community. Now, not only that, for the white people who were also in that same situation, check this out. You guys are now the servants. Y'all pay y'all debts. You guys can own land. They can't own land. Because people don't understand. Poor white people and slaves. Slaves, basically white slaves and black slaves, used to revolt all the time. How do you stop that? You go, hey, check this out. Y'all don't even look alike. Don't worry about him. Be with us. Check this out. We'll let you get land. Pay your time up. We'll give you land. You're not in the same situation as them. You know what I mean? Boom. And guess what? Instead of looking at it like, man, that's unfair, they went with it. They went with it because that made them feel, okay, I'm no longer in that situation. God, I'm not in that situation. That's a part of history we don't. Only time people bring that up is when they want to counter on stuff. There was white slaves too. Outside of that, you never hear about that. Nobody brings that up. Nobody even tells you how that stopped. Nobody brings that part up either. But today, what we're gonna talk about is the history of slavery in Florida. I wish I had transition music. We ain't got transition music. We gonna just rock on and keep it popping. Like I said, this is not the regular thing, so we just gonna keep talking. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we'll do a shoo shoo shoo. Nah, I'm playing with y'all. We ain't doing none of that. But here's the thing. We talked about back in the day when Spain owned Florida, how slaves didn't go up north, they went further south. You know what I'm saying? Fort Mose was a safe haven for slaves. You know what I'm saying? The Spaniards, in defiance of the British colony, was like, yo, they free if they get down here. If y'all can make it down here, it's all good. And they did. Fort Mose was the safe haven. Everything was good. and it was all good. Now, the other side of that is that I didn't say about the Fort Mose thing is when the slaves go down there, they have to convert their religion to Catholicism. They have to become Catholics in order to basically maintain it. So, but they're a part of the community. That's the thing. They are part of the community. You know what I'm saying? African guy, African female goes, hey, look at that Spaniard. And that Spaniard and that African ends up getting together. It's not illegal. There's no beatings, there's no beheadings, there's no burnings, there's no, you know what I mean? They have a child, everything's good. The child, especially for the Spaniards, that child receives the wealth that Spaniard has, if that Spaniard had any, with the perception that, and I say that from the perspective of one assumes former slaves didn't get that much money, but them Spaniards, because this is their property, definitely was out here holding that dough. But it wasn't illegal. You could do what you wanted to do. You could rock it, and everybody was alright. And it was just one of those things. And it was crazy because nobody talked about that. You know, again, these are pieces of history that nobody talks about. And you know why nobody talks about it? Because it defies all logic. You know what I'm saying? And it was just that way to go. You know what I'm saying? You had Native Americans that were already down there having an okay life. Okay-ish, because they weren't even fighting the Spaniards anymore. It came to a thing like the fighting Spain / Dale Goodness in Mexico. That's further down the line. Oh my God, that is a piece of history that is ridiculous. But this time of history, everybody's alright. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like we letting y'all do y'all thing. We're gonna do our thing. You got slaves coming in. They're gonna do their thing, and then all of a sudden, you get the point of, hey, look at what happens here. America comes in, and now they run it. You know what I'm saying? It got caught out there in February 1821. That was how that worked out. It was a treaty, and Spain was like, all right, cool, y'all can have that. We good, we bounce out. As soon as this happens, all free blacks are in danger. All of the free blacks are in danger. A good portion of people escaped quickly out there to Cuba. Not just black people, but the Seminole Native American tribe. People bounced. They left Florida. They was like, yo, this ain't gonna be good. And it wasn't. Because one of the first things they did was go, oh, this ain't it. This I don't know what's going on around here. Black free people, what? Nah. And they had their slaves, and their slaves are looking, so they definitely were going out of their way to make life hard for the free black people. That's first and foremost. They was like, yo, we gotta figure out how to get down and make everything work out like yo, because this is not it. This is not what we need to do. Now, Leon County was actually wealthy because of slavery. So they were like, yo, how do we fix this thing up? They went out here and was like, hey, we got to figure out what's going on down there in Pensacola and St. Augustine. We got to, hey, y'all see all them black people they got down there just kicking it like that? Nah, we got to figure something out. There was a legislation. They made a legislative situation. They got down there and it was like, yo, we are going to fix this thing where it's like, hey, all you free Negroes are going to have to figure out where to go. Because now we about to flip this whole game. We about to do this. You guys got 30 days to get up out of here and go. You know what I'm saying? Or you register, which was $1 for each person. You had to register. And with that, you had a white guardian. You are now having a white guardian. It's in the legislation. They made that a law, not a rule, a law. You have to register that you are a citizen of Florida, wherever you are. Pay this $1. You will be assigned a white guardian. Now, the other side of that is, if you didn't leave and you ain't do that, after those 30 days, if a white person catches up with you and wants to claim ownership of you, you're that white person's. You belong to that white person. That's crazy. Free men who, and by this time, who knows? By that time, you could have been born. You could have been a second or third generation free black man. Second, third generation free black woman. Hey, and if you don't leave, and if you don't get down with this thing right here, where we're talking about, this is your guardian, this is technically your owner, but it's not like slavery owner. It's just, you won't be allowed to just be free. One of these white people just gonna grab you up. That's it. Grab you up. You know what I'm saying? Remember how they used to show you those old videos, old pictures, or those old stories and movie reenactments of people going out to the West and getting land, and they're just staking a flag there and just standing there and sitting like, yo, this is mine. Yeah, they gonna do. Somebody white gonna grab you and be like, I got one. Where's your registration papers? I didn't do that. I'm a free man. Well, not anymore. I got you. Come here. I got you. Wild. That is the country. That's the history that nobody talks about. Florida's history is a weird history. By the Civil War, the enslaved people was more than half of the population in Florida. You know what I'm saying? They had cotton crops popping up all over the place. They were really getting it in. They became part of the Confederacy at one. You know what I'm saying? Not at one point. Florida became part of the Confederacy. You know what I'm saying? It was like, yo, they had their delegates that was voting like, do we want to be part of this independent movement, or do we want to stay part of the whole thing? And they were like, nah, we gonna do this thing right here, because again, slavery works. That's the thing. Slavery works. So why not? And all of this was just one of those things where that's our American history. That is our American history. Even after the Civil War and slaves were let free, we talk about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is the commemoration of the last known slaves in Texas. There were still slaves in Oklahoma that hadn't been freed yet, well after Juneteenth. There were slaves in Florida that hadn't been freed yet, well after Juneteenth. There's a movie or documentary somewhere where there's people who still think slavery was existing all the way until the 1960s. Somebody had to go, dude, it's over. What? You playing? No, it can't be over. My master. And I know y'all think I'm joking. I'm dead serious. There were some black people somewhere down south that really thought slavery was still rocking until the 1960s. And I'm gonna be generous and say 1950s, even though that film looked real 1960ish. I'm not gonna give it 1970s, but it was old. That's our country. That's the history of this country. You know what I'm saying? Slavery is one of our original sins. We have two original sins. One is the genocide of the Native Americans, and others is slavery and the unwillingness to close the book and open up another and start a new book. Forget a new chapter. Start a new book. The new beginnings of a new America. Not just for black people who were now free, but the Native Americans also. The ones that the tribes that did survive. That was what America could have become, but it didn't. So then what happens is history is always there. History has always been there. And this whole new thing about trying to change history, it was always in the mix anyway, over 10 years ago. Before Obama became president, they were talking about Texas was always one of the main ones, always right there on the edge of trying to redirect history when it came to slavery. Florida has went out its way to do so. But a lot of this comes from the Black Lives Movement, the cancel culture movement that immersed the not white guilt, but a white apologist movement. And see, and that's the thing about that. There's white apologists that are extremely like, oh my God, it was so wrong what we did to so many people. And then there's the other extreme of, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? They're probably better off for it. Why should we worry about it? Then there's the middle. People that kind of don't care. Like, that was the past. Hopefully we moved on. You know what I'm saying? You can't apologize for something we had we living had no hand in. But we're not going to be ignorant enough to try to hold on to that. We're in the middle. The people who are in the middle were the ones that are the voices that you don't hear because they don't care. They're not saying anything, not because they don't care about it either way. They're like, it happened. We need to get over it, try to fix it as we move and keep it moving. We know the problem, fix the problem. That's, you know what I'm saying? Like, that was their thing. They were like, yo, we know it's wrong. We know what was wrong. We know why it was wrong. Can we fix this and keep it moving? Can we just stop the BS and roll? Nah. So now what happens is, during this Black Lives Matter movement, during this cancel culture movement, they start smashing statues. And here's another piece about that. It wasn't the fact that people were smashing statues. It was white people smashing statues. White people smashing statues of white people who were heroes, who were American heroes, who had slaves. Because the white apologists were like, well, this will make it right. Landmarks. They were smashing statues that were landmarks. These were iconic statues just torn down. It wasn't a lot of black people doing it. When you looked up, you saw a lot of white faces. There were some black people, but there was a lot of white faces going, yeah, that is when it became an issue. We have to really go out here and retell this story so the next generation doesn't think evil of it. Because that was their whole thing. That was where because they even took the whole critical race theory. They took that. Like they took woke. Because woke does not mean what white people think it means. Sorry, it doesn't. Ask a black person who's pro-black what woke means. Find that chick, find that female that when you listen to her listening to music, it sounds like she's listening to Sade and Erykah Badu and Jill Scott, India Arie, Lauryn Hill. Talk to her. Find that brother who's out here listening to Kweli and Mos Def and Common and Brand Nubian or something like that. Talk to him. You know what I'm saying? Because you talk to the average black person, they have no idea. They're going to just say some of the most crazy. They're going to sound just like you. You know what I'm saying? They don't get it. Because woke had nothing to do with what white people think it has to do. That's not the thing. That has never been the thing. You know what I'm saying? So, you have that. They just hijacked it and kept it moving. Then there's critical race theory. They hijacked that and was like, yeah, because we're against critical race theory. You know what I'm saying? This is the guilt counter against all of that critical race theory. Do y'all not understand what that theory was? That became a thing in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s. In the 80s, technically the 90s also. Matter of fact, technically every time some college publishes the results of a study that they've done, and you're like, oh wow, you're telling us something we don't know. That's what critical race theory is. Critical race theory is when they do a study on, hey, black homes, the appraisal price for a black home is so much lower than it is for a white house in the same neighborhood. House might even look better, but because it has black residents, its worth goes down. You know what I'm saying? It's what black pregnant mothers don't get the same health care. And so when people do all this critical race theory and woke, they have no idea what they're talking about. It's watching the game get played. So then you have DeSantis doubling down, going, oh no, not only are we not going to talk about slavery, we're going to recreate what slavery was. Slavery was the greatest thing ever. Huh? How y'all hating on slavery? Slavery is a good thing. No. Yeah. How? There's documents. There's newspapers. Are you literally going to go to every small community in Florida and tear down the little signs on how many slaves were killed here, how many black people were killed? Because that's what a lot of places have. A lot of places have how many people died or why this area is so important. The historical facts for this area. Are you now going to travel around Florida and dismantle all of that to recreate a history, to give a history a different narrative? That's the question, man. What are we talking about right now? It's wild. Florida's history is a wild history. You went from being a safe haven to being just another place that was actually evil, because you told the free people that either y'all can leave, register as, and I don't even register as a formerly free person who now has a guardian, or somebody can just walk up to you and go, got one, and then you're theirs. Now I belong to this dude and his family. You know what I'm saying? That is the wildest part. That is a piece of history America doesn't even talk about. I don't know if Florida talks about it, but America doesn't talk about it. Miami basically was a black area. People don't talk about that. You know what I'm saying? Miami was a black area. Not just because black people, like when we think about back in the day with Luke and 2 Live Crew. No. I'm talking about in general. Before the mob came down there and turned it into this beautiful place, before the Cubans and the Haitians came over and they turned it into something else where they started to build their own communities, before all that, black people were the those who inherited what it was like to be black in Florida. Florida, that was their thing. You know what I'm saying? So it's just wild, man. Florida is every state has a crazy history with slavery if you actually take the time to look into it. You know what I'm saying? Virginia, where I'm from, has a gang. Probably has some of the most, if not the most, slavery revolts during the slavery times. There was always something going down. You know what I'm saying? There's one famous one, Nat Turner, and that's only famous because of what happened with Nat Turner as far as him slaughtering people. Because usually a lot of times the slave owners or the overseers would catch wind of what's going on because somebody snitched and they put an end to it real quick. Nah, not the case with that. That's why that became a big thing. That's the only reason. And then with history with that, how do you overlook that? How do you not talk about that? Like I said, how do you explain what Harriet Tubman was doing? How do you explain the Civil War? It's easy. Let's get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. You can kinda get away with the Civil War. Kinda. But one of the big things about the Civil War was the ending of slavery. Abolishing slavery. So, where do we go when it comes to this history? Teachers cannot fully feel comfortable talking about this history wrong. You know what I'm saying? You're not going to go out here and teach your kids math wrong. You're not going to go out here and teach your kids English wrong. You're not going to teach them science wrong. You're asking teachers to go against their oath as a teacher and misinform the youth. Come on, man. Come on. And I've been telling people, yo, this thing with DeSantis, he's not even worried about Florida. This isn't about Florida. This is about the national news. Like, look, I put my foot down. This is what I'm doing in my state. I'm about to run for president. I'm about to do this everywhere. You see what I'm doing in my state, right? We about to get it in all over the place. Ohio got a thing where they're talking about they're misleading people with a commercial about a little girl with her head on a pillow, and they're like, do you not want to see drag? If you keep your child safe, you don't want drag queens and all this stuff going on in your school. You don't want them to talk about transgender and sex in your school. Vote yes for Prop 8 or Prop A or whatever, Proposition 8 or Proposition 1 or whatever. And it's like what they don't tell you is the rest of that. The rest of that is, if you vote yes, means that you are allowing legislation to be dismantled and rebuilt to whoever's in charge likes. Whoever wants to rebuild and how they want to rebuild the law and the legislation is now allowed to. You know what I'm saying? That is part of that too. They're not telling you that part. They're just getting you, they're tapping on people's fear about drag queens and twerkings and all this stuff at your schools. Which, by the way, you know how you can stop that? Parents just call. Parents call superintendents and go, yo, what is going on? Parents call the school board of education and go, yo, what's going on? Parents go into City Hall and saying, hey, what's going on? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's probably like maybe 10 parents that are like, it's okay, but there's a whole, that's 10 parents for that situation. You know what I'm saying? What about the rest of the school? What about the parents for the rest of the school? What about the teachers in general? I'm pretty sure nobody's out here going head over heels like, yeah, that's what we're going to do. Bring like cross-dressers and transgenders and have them talk about what it is to not be what you were born as to kids. No, that is not something that you want to have that discussion as. You want that to be something you're mature enough to grasp and then have that conversation. You could probably do that in high school. That's a high school thing. That's definitely not an elementary school thing. Kindergartners, first graders, second graders, third graders, fourth graders, fifth graders should not be hearing about that. Even, like I said, by 10th grade, maybe 11th grade. You know what I'm saying? Not children. You definitely should not be twerking and grinding and doing striptease and burlesque shows or whatever in front of children. That does not need to be voted on. That clearly is a parents need to come together and call out whoever came up with that idea. Who proposed that? Who made the call to make that happen? Their jobs need to be lost. We need to fire them. They need to be terminated. They should not be allowed to find another job around children. If anything, scare them by pushing them towards a sex offender crime. And that'll fall back. If you really wanted to get down like that, that's all you had to do. Threaten trying to prosecute them as sex offenders, because that's a room full of children. You have sexual energy perpetrated in front of a bunch of children. Once anybody, man or woman, starts dancing seductively, is that the way? Seductively. That sound real. And then it started to come through and started to dance seductively. Hey, start dancing seductively. Now I can't even say it seductively. Seductively. I like that word. I like it better. I like that. Seductively. Or some children or around you. Like, yeah. You shouldn't be bouncing your butt up on no kid's lap. What? No, you shouldn't be pelvic thrusting in front of no kid's face, man or woman. You know what I mean? Like, no young man should be out here feeling that unless he's playing basketball and somebody dunked on him. And it was like that. And trust me, I was a kid. I never had that happen, but man, the fights that would jump off when that would happen, because now you got to live with that for at least 2 months. Like, oh, dog, man. And in an argument, man, come on, dog, you tripping. Soon as somebody say something, soon as that dude say something crazy, oh man, whatever, man, that's why homeboy dunked on you, had his drinks all up in your face, meat all just clack, all up on your jaw. You was like, had your mouth open. Man, sit down, dog, you ain't about nothing, man. You ain't do nothing when your man dunked on you, had his boot all up on your forehead. Why you talking now, man? Yeah, man, come on, man, whatever, man. You ain't about that. Hey, you gotta live with that for like 2 months. 2 months. Then they are like, yo, we'll just throw him in class and have like some cross-dresser or whatever, do the little shimmy in front of him, boop, boop, all up in the little kid's face. You know what I mean? Is that funny? No. That is kind of funny. I'm sorry, yo. That's kind of, that's kind of, because as a little kid, get, boop, boop, he'd be there, for a hot second, he's like, did that, what was that? And then he's like, and because they're kids, nobody's going to know. But as a parent, you're just like, yo, so nobody's going to talk about how my man just knocked that kid in the head with that. All right, nobody. Nah, Anybody else's kid? Nope, my kid is gonna go sit. Nope, matter of fact, go to the bathroom for the rest of the day. Hey, we haven't seen your son. He is roaming the halls. Cause first one of y'all volunteer my kid to get popped in the face like that, I'm fighting everybody in here. Homeboy in the dress too. You would get it too, homie. You will identify as a person who just got caught a beat down. Better back it up. Yeah. Hey, man, what's wrong with y'all? I got to call somebody on y'all. Hey, for real. But anyway, man, this is this episode. Thank y'all for listening. It feels weird to do it this way. I don't know. And piece of me is like, yo, I kind of like doing it this way, and the other side is like, I like doing it the other way, cause, you know what I mean? Either way, this is what it is. This is a Black History moment, and the wild part is because I can't play anything. I can't even play the outgoing. You know what I'm saying? Get down. So I'm gonna have to say it the way I would normally say it, and that is, you only live once. That's a lie. You only die once. So anytime that your God allows you to get out here and continue your journey and try to find the truth in this mix of what is and what isn't, the history of slavery, do yourself a favor. Go out here and find the truth. Know the truth. And I'm not even speaking to you, the listeners. I'm speaking to your children. I'm speaking to their children, because we already know. You know what I'm saying? So when your kid comes home and they're like, yo, and you know what I'm saying, slavery was beneficial to people who got job experiences. They could get promotions. You could go from like being low slave to high slave. Like you could graduate and get promoted to being in the house. Sometimes, you know what I'm saying, sometimes you get your own house. And then, you know what I'm saying, and as a parent, you just go, so were they allowed to be free? No, they weren't allowed to be free. Then there was no such thing as a promotion. Yeah, I mean, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna tell y'all right now, and I guess I'll have to say this all over again. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, all DeSantis has done is make every child that will ever grow up who goes, when you ask them to do their chores, go, oh my God, you have me treated like a slave. Now they really think thanks to his history, they really feel like they're a slave. Oh my God, you making me feel like this is slavery. Like, what? Kids are stupid. Which is wild, because I never grew up thinking that. Matter of fact, I would just do what I had to do and keep it moving. You know what I'm saying? Most of my homies did what they had to do and kept it moving. I rarely heard people say stupid stuff like that, except for like spoiled kids, and this was one of those, and they would be like, their parents would be around like those other parents that don't spoil their kids, so they'd ask them to do something. Hey, can you take out the trash? Oh my God! I'm always doing stuff. You making me feel like a slave. Oh my God! You're like, dude, you couldn't just take out the. Oh my God! Yeah. That's the only time because the other time, like, and parents do that too. Like when they're around other parents who actually are parents, they try to like, my kid does chores. Hey, can you, like, what? No, you never asked me to do anything. Yeah, that right there. Yeah. So that's all DeSantis has done. Made all those kids actually be like, I can really relate to a slave now. I'm like, y'all wow for that. Anyway, let's go back. Let's rewind this back. They say you only live once. That's a lie. You only die once. So anytime that your God allows you to get out here and continue your journey and do this whole part over again, make sure that you show the world the best version of you. Y'all be safe. Holla at y'all next time. Peace.
This is a Soul of Art presentation.